This is going to be a quick video with a longer, more in-depth follow-up video coming soon. But I have a message here. It's a text file, MSG text file. This is the message inside that file. We're going to encrypt it using OpenSSL. So we're going to run OpenSSL. We're going to say that we want to encrypt. This is the type of encryption we're using. -A means that we're going to be giving it, basically converting it to base 64, which we'll talk about more in a future video. But basically, it's making it typable characters. Now we're going to say input -in our text file, and then if we want to put it into an output file, we just say --out. Sorry, I think that should be -out, not --out. And enc text. So we do that. We type in our password twice to confirm. And now we have a file called enc.txt. If we type that out, print that out, you can see that it has plain text characters, and you can send that to someone to decode, which we'll look at in the next video. Okay, now we're going to decode the message that we created in the last video. We have a file called enc.txt. We can see it's plain text, but it is encrypted, so we have to decrypt it. We have to know the password. We're going to run basically the same command we ran last time with OpenSSL, but we're going to change this E to D. So instead of encrypting, we're decrypting. Now I can come over here, and instead of setting an output file, we can set our input file to be our ENC file, so our encrypted text file. We're going to run that, type in the super secret password that we set in the last video, and we run that, we get the output, the original message. It is now decrypted. Today, we are going to create a QR code that you can scan with your phone or other device. So we have a message here. This is my message, and we're echoing that into QR encode. -T for the type of output we want. In this case, we're going to go PNG to create an image. We're going to give it -O for the output file name, in this case, image.png. We can run that, and then I can open it with my image viewer, and as you can see, there's a QR code here, which you should be able to scan, and when you do, it should say, "This is my message." So that's how you can create a quick QR code locally on your machine, not having to go to any of those websites that's probably logging all the stuff that you're entering. Last time, we used this command to create an image of a QR code. So we're echoing our message, which is "this is my message," into a program called QR Encode. Should be in your repositories. -T for type, and we're saying PNG. Then we're giving it a file name, and that will generate an image that you can share or print. But let's say you want to share it as text. Well, you have a few different options. One of those options is we get rid of our output file name here, and we're going to change the type from PNG to FTF8. This is going to be Unicode. When I do that, we get a QR code right up there on the screen. And you could scan that. And this is selectable text, but it is using Unicode standards. Another option would be to go with ASCII. So ASCII. And when you run that, you're going to get this. Now, the way my screen's set up is kind of hard to see. I'm going to shrink everything down. But it's just using spaces and the pound symbol to give you a QR code. So you should be able to scan this with your phone and get that original message that we encoded. In this video, we created an image file that had a QR code in it. This is what it looks like right there. And you should be able to scan that if the video quality is good enough. But you usually would scan it with your phone's camera. But let's say you want to decode that using your computer. Well, there is a program that should be in your repositories called ZBarImg. You can pass it an image file, and when you do that, it's going to give you this output. So it will say QR encode, and then it will give you what the QR code says, as well as some other information. If we don't want all that extra information, and we just want the original message, we can pass it --quiet and --raw, and when I do that, it gives us just the original message that we encoded into that QR code. We've been talking about encrypting and encoding. Today we're going to look at encoding. Again, this is not encryption, this is encoding. So this message is readable by anybody who understands base 64. To simplify it, base 64 takes whatever you give it and converts it into typable characters. That's just the simplest way to say it. So I can pass it a PNG file, a JPEG file, a video file, and it will convert it to typable characters that you can send as text. And this is how emails put attachments into the email. So let's start off with some text. So here I have, "This is my message." I'm going to echo that into the command base 64, which on your Linux system is already installed, most definitely. We're going to run that, and it gives us this output. Again, just typable characters that you can decode. I also have an image in here called image.png. I can pass that to base 64, and it gives me typable characters that is that image that I can then use base 64 to decode. Last time we encoded an image as base 64, which looks like this. Let's go ahead and dump that into a file. I'll just call it image.txt. Now I can cat out that image.txt file, and I get this text. Again, this is that image, not as ASCII art, but as in typable characters that can be converted back to the original image. So all I have to do is say I can say base 64, and this time give it the -D for decode. Again, this is not decrypting, it's decoding. There's no hidden messages here, it's just encoded differently. And I can give it our image file, our text file, and when I do that, it's going to give me this information, which is the PNG file. And of course, I can redirect that into i.png, and now I can open up with my image viewer, IPNG, and get the image.